batla we get a hosi in a family that is not used to ubugebengu. Azang bamthatha serious. And because of Karabo, still to this day, Usaizama die rubbish. And he is hoping with every bone in his body. Hore ke tlotlogela bozalwane cause ke yona ntho e blomileng mo tseleng ya hae. Hore nna ke tlotlogela bozalwane because that's the one thing that's blocking him from ending up the chief of the family. Akuzoba chief la ejardini enza inyongo like this dude. We had a cousin that almost achieved status sekhosi. Mara ovetse a foforwa ke modimo by causing him to be so irresponsible that he ended up messing up his entire life. Walahlekelwa empire yakhe yonke, dwindled, faded, passed away like dust in the wind. Azang washona kodwa saphila ngamhlanje. He basically became a nobody. Mara there was a time when neremotlotla because nana le tjhelete ngata, even though he was doing izinto ezitshekile la emgaqweni. Modimo azange alawa. He never allowed the prosperity of ubugenza ekhaya. Uvele wamwithara, uvele wamfofora. That guy even had an eating disorder for crying out loud. Waba bulimic. Ukewabona kupindo de bulimic. That dude had bulimia, making a drug problem. Azange wakwazi ukuthokomela abantwana. Umfazi wakhona azange wamtshata. Ubezayeza bana babangatangata fela, mara azange ayeza honest woman out of the woman, honest woman out of the wife. And the woman ended up going to go marry someone else. He just never amounted to anything. But there was a time when mona pahama atsoga. I pile pizza paraffin. Anale omfule matla. And remote, like I said, respect. Amara Mudimu amu bring low because Mudimu was doing a different thing. Ale family. The law saw it fit to raise me up mina as Karabo in order to go to uproot all this nonsense. Ngoba di tapelo tsa di bazalwane ba gale. Di utlwilwe dithapelo tsa nkgono waka o tlhokafetseng ene le mzalwane di utlwilwe. Modimo answers prayers even beyond the grave. Umuntu who was praying for a family, the children, the daughters, the sons, can still get answered prayer from heaven. Save my sons, save my daughters, shame of our sons and daughters. God, somewhere along the way, God, motions, strategies to bring them to Him, and so therefore awards His saint only after death the glory of having brought those people to Christ. Ukokwam mega tandaza, but not only ukokwam. There's ancestry giti that was saved, that was real, that was the true deal. God, goodness, the story goes back very many generations. Okay, it goes back to the origins of Loktanda Gwabtagati giti, like the love of witchcraft alongside claiming to be Christian. It goes back like ridiculously far. Okay, and in this family, as in hundreds of years ago, the whole family was righteous except for one sister who tarried because of a man who introduced her to witchcraft. And it is that aunt, that great whatever aunt, from which lineage my grandmother comes from. So there is basically a warring spirit that is fighting for the souls of Abantu Bagiti, because there is a division between Christianity and pagan worship. Ekale Christian. However, one person strayed, and because of straying, this thing is now constantly like a generational curse, just pursuing a family, and it wants to consume the family whole and conquer the whole family with pagan worship. They want to convert the whole family into pagans. Babatla convert the family into pagans. So I am basically like the last thing that's standing, that in the way. Kiki, I'm blocking the prosperity of this proliferation of pagan worship. I'm blocking it. My Christianity is the thing that could end the metastasizing cancer, or me falling apart could peg it in the ground. If I fall apart, they get it. They win. The darkness wins. If I don't, the darkness dies. All together. Because the mom and the dad and the two sisters that were still faithful from long ago prayed for the salvation of their sister and daughter. Azanga Poloswa. She passed away a pagan. She passed away a witch. She went to hell. Kodwa umthandazo kababa nomama nama sisters for the recovery of the kid of their sister back to them, because she met some evil man that introduced her to the occult and never turned back. Never ever gave her. She was always a little bit of a Cain. That chick. So therefore, azanga poloswa. Batho ko habona ne ba ke kerekeng na porega. Onale wily. She was wayward. This chick. This great whatever auntie. She was wayward, and she was hard to keep in a bunch. So as soon as she met a man that introduced her to alternative spirituality, she just ran with it. And bamthandazela ubutabuye azangwabuye, like I said, ushone in her darkness. Mara ditapelo that went up to the sky. It's written in God's word that the effective fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much. Ditapelo that went up to the sky from the sisters and the dad and the mom. Ditapelo that went up to the sky from the sisters and the dad and the mom. The Lord regarded them. He held them in his heart, and so he awarded the promise of those prayers to the descendants of that auntie of which of course they had children with that diabolical man, and she now herself was also diabolical. So hence why there's always just this phenomenon of evil sister and good sister kohai. Like it's a thing. It just keeps being proliferated. Anyway, whatever. The Lord then awarded the promise of redeeming Bana to the descendants. He visited the righteousness of the mom, the dad, and the two sisters to the generations that would come to in the future from this wife, from this woman, Mara, of course, because of how it is that she embraced wickedness all the way up until she died. There's been a war ever since, just a prolific spiritual war ever since for the souls of people coming from this bloodline, coming from my grandmother. The marrying of two very evil men is a thing. Because of that evil man that came in and tarried from Christ, the one sister, and the infiltration of very rapey spirits like force and coercion, and to rip Christianity out of godly people. That is a thing in my family. It's a strategy. It's a generational curse, and it frankly stops with me. It's either stops with me, or it is edged or solidified because of me. If I die, if I perish, if I lose this battle, it will take us over once and for all. Basically, the darkness will win, because as it has metastasized throughout the years, Christianity has significantly dwindled. It has tapered. And the quota of Christians in every new generation that would come has gotten smaller and smaller, while the quota of those who are pagan and who die in their sins has gotten bigger and bigger. And so basically this is the last run. It's an end run to the grave. And this random rubbish of a strategy has always been infiltrated through amadota, men. It was that evil man that rocked up and tarried the great aunt away from God. So the sons that get born mojaradeng, they tend to be these fluffy namby-pamby men that are extremely ungodly and have nothing to do with Jesus. But women tend to be keen somewhat on the things of God. The women start out in their lives being okay with the things of God, but then they get tarried from God by men. They get tarried from God by men. It doesn't always happen like that, but it is how it is happening in my family. So don't come at me and say, when Karabo, you've got such a big bone to pick, namatota, that you say wuti all the time. Whenever somebody's falling apart from the faith, it's because of them. No, I'm saying that that's the case in my family. Okay, labafazi, they are interested in the things of God, but then they are ripped apart from them by amadota. It happened with my sister, plural. It happened with my cousins. It proper go fella bona, they would be lying if they said that njefela of their own volition, just because it was a bright day that was sunny, they chose to disobey God, or they chose to use witchcraft. It tends to have a root cause in daughter. My cousin was introduced into the occult by her husband. Both of them, all of them. Another cousin of mine turned to witchcraft because she was frustrated with the man she married. It's always men. The men rock up and they either cause the women to do witchcraft because they fra with their failed marriages, or the men in and of themselves introduce them to witchcraft. It like clockwork. That's how it happens. So that's why they want to mix me with some deplorable. That's why they want to put me together with some reprobate. That's why they are insisting with your chata some man or satsibing mudimu, because that's going to be a successful strategy to shut me up finally once and for all, and to also finish off this curse like it. So if at all there are, and hence why as well, I will say this time and time again, go ahead, so barely ever, like women, problem in the sense that, and I call it a problem because my mom, when she had my younger sister, a son, barely, like you can count them on your 10 fingers and toes. It's so bad that there's only one patriarch. My uncle's maningi, I only have one uncle. Everybody else get the auntie. Like no man's business. And when they have children, they keep popping girls. And every so often there will be a boy. Got by the boys, the few of them and far between of them that they are, inevitably they walk in a typicality over time. They become these namby-pamby, wet behind the ears, never really truly become girthy boys that can't stand the strength of women, and every woman around them is bigger than them. Weak. The men can never be strong, and so therefore a misogyny, a fight that is misogynistic that they inherently just have with women. The families are made up of either fully girl children only, or there'll be just one son. And these sons are just, I'm sorry to have to say this, they are lackluster about work. They literally flop, guys. In the sense of the word, man, you know, and this cousin insisted on bringing upon himself the status of ikhosi because like all the other men in the family. The only way that these men in the family can truly be amatota as strong is if they marry abafazi weak. My uncle did that. He married a woman making sure he will always look strong, but even then both his sisters were always stronger than him. It's unfortunate, mara it is what it is. I just had to put that out there. So it also can account for why no male presence rocked up to rebuke the incendiary activity of my family members. They have no interest in aiding my cause along, precisely because of the fact that get strong, guys. Not only am I strong, but I am, like I said, I am this thing that is standing to correct the indiscretions of generational curses. And so being into they are made to ignore the travesty that killing yona wrong, they are made to ignore it. They are made to ignore it by their demons, basically. The entities is keeping me in this like imprisoned circumstance. And these chains that incarcerate me, Dimo, only because there is a spirit ehana. But you see, Havana choice, Havana option. It's not like I am truly beleaguered, truly afflicted. It's not like I am truly in any kind of danger, because now I have given my life to the only patriarch at this particular juncture that truly matters, and that is God. I belong to the Father in heaven, who is a manly man. I belong to Jesus Christ, who is a manly man. I belong to Indota, that takes care of society's women, of society's daughters and babies. A man, like Amadota, are responsible. So this spirit of irresponsibility, if you want to call it that, orphans, daughters, if at all they are strong, if they are too strong, so being umzalwane, there is a striving against into that I am. So the cousin Lena, just like all the other men in my family, bafuna uguba important, girthy, thick, rich, mara they can't in their own organic space be that thing, because in their spirit space. Girth, they don't want to truly work on manhood. They don't want to work on themselves that they might be men. They wanted to just fall on their laps. As these strong patriarchs, having been fluffy, namby-pamby, matapi-tapi all along, and not truly manly. And the Spirit of the Lord rejects it. Therefore, it is an unacceptable sacrifice. So therefore, the one person that is standing against indaba ukuthi abafuna ukusebenza on their spirit in order to indeed be amadoda, abasambulali yini? Are they not killing lo muntu yini? Are they not out here literally standing back doing nothing about Karabo yini? It's because hasebanna and nobody getting taba tsa go ntshiwa for taba eo. They don't want to work on it. It's not that they can't be men, it's that they don't want to work on being them. They don't want to work on their character. So the cousin, just like my uncle, ufuna foster i-patriarchy, ufuna foster ubudoda oburespectwayo, mara akakwazi ukufoster lobudoda bakhona. Hence why my uncle has been trying to marry me off to wicked men. My goodness, this cousin ubatla go foster budoda, ubatla go nka baton from my uncle. Like when my uncle dies, ubatla go ba the person that everybody goes to, batla negotiate lobola through him. What the heck? Ole kinza o tlo utswa chelete ha o tlo ba responsible bana ba banyana batla go tshepa jwang. He wants to be the one to inherit alongside basically interstate succession. We'll have it that the patriarch will actually be taking on the inheritance when one of the patriarch passes away, or even a matriarch. The Mulona wants to benefit under interstate succession. Also, there are a couple of cousins that are vying to basically take the position of my uncle, but he was the one that was placed in the best position because he was born. He is the only son, not only son actually, there's also another one, but he is the only son that was born to a child of my grandmother and my grandfather. The two of them. The other kids come from outside of their marriage. Before the two of them got married, they had other children, but my uncle, my mom and my aunt are all like, you know, full brother and sisters. They are full and they are born in that marriage. So the best son to take the baton is the one born to any of these children, any of these kids. And this boy cousin is the firstborn boy and firstborn boy within this union. And ufuna that when my when my uncle dies, he wants to take on the patriarchal role of basically being the person that stages interventions in the family, the person that basically uncle otembayo in the whole family. That thing naive, and he can see that my uncle is getting old. He can see that basically our parents are getting to that stage where the hello. He can see like our parents are getting old, you know. They're starting to, like, you know, push 70 type establishment thing. So because within the next 20 years, let's have an optimistic estimate, okay? Within the next 20 years, these people are going to be out the way. Process hand over baton to him. And the way that things are looking right now, because of how irresponsible he is and how he has not made any reasonable strides in the family to indeed take on that baton, those who remain batlohana homo for that baton, batlohana homo for that crown, batlohana. Oh, the guys to fakao no kungwaneng wa bukenza ha mo tshepe mos o tla re etsetsang nna ha go negotiate no lobola ke le rabishena through for ngwana ka wanganyana. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. It is looking like some other male, but not born from the immediate marriage pair of my grandfather and my grandmother, is going to be given that baton. And it's looking very much like the son of this one other woman. Yeah, Naya, she is the daughter of my grandmother, but not of my grandfather. Her son is the more responsible than my cousin. And okay, her son, who's also my cousin, is more responsible than this cousin that I'm speaking about right now. So much so, are they looking at this other cousin to take on the ranks, that my uncle is starting to travel everywhere with this cousin. And this cousin was also there with my grandmother when she was dying, by the way. In Eliana, that was taking care of my grandmother when my grandmother died. Bamushebile as the person to take on the ranks. They are grooming him. Nayaga yenzi sense, you must understand. He is also among the cousins banglueling bokamos baka kaofela. Mara asele kenza la go tshwatla everything mo mostrateng. and he has displayed that he can be a responsible dad. He has displayed that he can work a 9 to 5, an honest living, all that jazz. O bontshitse hore aka kgona ho lo negotiate dilobola tsa bana ba banyana and all that jazz. So it's looking like the baton is going over to that cousin. And so this one wahlanya, because he's like, basically, but frankly, by interstate succession, it belongs to me. It belongs to me. Mara irresponsible, and he is aware the reason he hasn't been able to build the empire that he wants to build to make himself a king is because of Karabo. Karabo is standing in the way. Karabo is blocking ability to prosper through ill-gotten gain. So Mutukyo Janong, I will give him this much. Unlike my other female cousin, Hasokaza Mangpolai, he's never ever graduated to murder. I guess utando lwakhe li genuine in comparison to that other rubbish of a female cousin that I'll just be imagining ukuthi ukushona kwami is a necessary evil. Mara tlabona after this video, if since ni asa disquieted ka prospect ya lifu laka. Yeah, there's only one person like Jartini so that's like determined for Uguting Shone, and it's that female cousin. Mara, the rest of them tend to be okay if nyapila, but without any success in life. Anyway, so I'll give him that much. I will give him the much of saying that at least Agazama, even though he is dangerous or violent, okay, cool beans and bananas. Lo muntulo ofunuguzenza ikhosi. Like Jartini. Ke lorile ke go betsi lena, guys, as an initiation practice into the occult or the chiefdom of my family. Kutwamina, I need to go. Literally in my dream, I was told by my cousins who had embraced his chiefdom, his chiefhood. I had also embraced his chiefhood. I had walked away from Jesus in my dream, and I was told that to prove hore ke tlogetse ntho tsa modimo le YouTube channel eba borang eba tlhatsisang tshwantse ke lo robala le ena so they can have something on my head. You know, when you initiate a person in the occult, or when people in the occult are initiated, they have to do very satanic rituals. Some of the rituals of which involve things like bestiality, sleeping with animals, or as heterosexual men they will be made to sleep with men. They will be made to sleep with children. Pedophilia is a thing. They do these heinous things so that they can record them on camera and hold them over the heads of these people as things with which to basically sign them to secrecy. And like I said, these acts tend to be heinous. They are extremely diabolical. And it is the kind of stuff that if all it were to come out, umuntu angaba destroyed for life. And in my pupo, this freaking ritual involved me having sex, no cousin one. Earlier I spoke about how it is that some licentious creep back in the day when I was just 19 took me to a shack ko Alex and showed me porn. Hana nthoke itlhoileng then banna ba tlong pontshang tsheriano motorong hore ba tlong ketsa hore nna ke be convinced of ntho ba batlang go etsa bana no gore nna ke tlo galla rubbish just because sexual pleasure is apparently desirable. It is. I will not take that away from it. Mara hai ele sona le ditshila, it's sotlegile ka satane. Hai ele mpe gakana ele doti. Hai ele e sebedisitswe ho lo senya botle ba mosadi, ho lo nka anything eling beautiful mo strateng ebe e senya e rabasa. There is joy and glory to be enjoyed in copulation, in consummation, in love. Ko lenyalong le monna hao. So sex on its own asebotha ukanzi njengoma lu blomile sonor alone is not the problem. The issue is in what people do with it. When they take it out of the right context, when they ravaza it with promiscuity, with harlotry, with whoredom, when they muddy it with rituals, and when they do it in orifices of the body that are not supposed to be endured through that kind of penetration, like with anal copulation, when people be out here taking the pleasure of the body and making it satanic, the stuff of bondage and dominatrixes and ntho tse snaximan tsa 2024 tse tsa no dilas that have been proliferated by the rubbish of 50 Shades of Grey. And you do that with it, you absolutely decimate the glory and the beauty of the Song of Solomon. The Song of Songs, of which is a description of the glory of conjugal relations in a marriage bed. Once you have waited for your bride, waited for your groom, and the two of y'all are now enjoying love, you're full of love all night until the sun rises, you get to enjoy each other as umyeni nomfazi wakhona, who stood before God in a covenant and said, this is my person and I'm his person. Guhle. It's a beautiful thing, and it is indeed an act of worship when it's done right. But when it's done wrong, it's still an act of worship, but to Satan. So ukanzi, the way in my dreams, it's given me such a bad taste in my mouth for and South Africa as a country, to a point where, guys, the way that this thing has left such a bad taste in my mouth, I can't see myself nendoda yomuntu omnyama. Angwazi, I don't think I can let a black man touch me. Only because, mamelang, this is PTSD moitsamailing langkutla. This is trauma. It's a trigger. Only because the only time I've ever been this horrifically sexually harassed, di pornographic images, ke shebisitswe sex between batho ba bang, nna ke onlukile, or ke forced sexual arousal, or ke have sex le motho ke sa mo tsebeng mo torong. One dream it went so far as it being rape. It's always been indoda yomuntu omnyama. And sometimes, listen to this, abafazi babantu abamnyama that have got manhood. I have had didoro tsa 2 family members that are girls, women, trying to have sex with me. Kompetong and bali tu nebana le manhood. Ele basadi. In my dream, they had manhood, mara nele basadi. Ike basadi in waking life ngaboteyin. But they were out here trying to seduce me sexually. That's not the only time I've ever dreamt about women having manhood in my dreams and trying to have sex with me. The lady who used to do inwelezam back when I used to have a job, a Congolese lady that claimed to be umzalwan. Hey batung cherry ena guys. The lady that used to do my nails, because the same salon the chick manala and the two of them never batla go nkhoza hore ke batlisitse more customers, and in and of myself ke ntse ke gutlela ko salooning ya bona when I'm not ready yet to change my nails or my hair. They wanted more business from me, and so I dreamt about them. Ko jarateng ya mmewaka ko ntlong ya mmewaka ko downstairs ko ntlong ene rula ko yona, which was a duplex ko Rimsig, not very different from le duplex le. Marnel go downstairs and gona le sponge mo fatshe, and I was laying with these women. Ke go betse le bona mo sponching sena, ke sa tlhaloganya gore why ke go betse le bona mo sponching sena. And one lady who was like a cousin of theirs that was struggling to get a job. One time she tapped on my shoulder and she was like, Karabo, is there any job that you can help this chick with? Because even cleaning, go ahead, no, do they need a domestic worker or what? I was like, I'll ask my mom. This chick wanted to come and work ekaya to clean, right? I was like, I'll ask my mom. We do have a domestic servant, but maybe my mom might have something else for her. I'll ask my mother. This chick was in the kitchen, the kitchen counter, while I was in bed with the nail technician and the stylist. Go downstairs. It was an open plan where the lounge was sort of kind of interconnected with Ikishi, and this chick was out just cleaning and scrubbing. Go kitchening. Before Mewaka has made any such decision, she was already working ekai. Basically, I forced it. And then I was in bed with most bonching mufati, hosina di couch or anything, the way that they were in waking life. These 2 women, And I came out of, I guess, what would be the tenement of sleeping and been like, what are you guys doing? What are you doing in Mawam? What are you doing in my lounge? What are you doing in the kitchen? What are you doing? And these two women that I was in bed with, and then they pressed me down and they tried to have sex with me. And they both had manhood. I conquered them in the dream. Mara. After that, azanka khutlela. Angbuyelang to that salon. Angbuelanga, lo and behold, a couple of weeks down the line from the date when it became apparent that I'm not going back, I also sent her a text message letting her know that how dare you bewitch me and my family, and how dare you claim to be a Christian and tell me about your experiences in Christ when you do this kind of stuff. A few weeks after that, from the Lord, where it is that I was on my knees, that was even before I started praying in tongues all day long. Twice a day, for about an hour in the mornings and evenings. Right by my bed. Right, I was living in 4 ways in my apartment at the time. And this chick, the nail technician, and she was like, this is why they were Congolese. She's like, this is why. She came in, killed it on my knees, and she literally said, this is why we can't get to her. Basically, we look sangoma loboza sangoma why can't we get to her? Why are dampile? Why are today morona? Why despite the spells that and then sangoma she's prayerful. This one is a Christian. She's very close to Jesus, so you're not gonna get to her. Batong. I went to that woman's wedding. The way I was so tight with them, I was ride or die. I was supportive. I had a plan in the future. Ogba Caesar could to start a business, the two of them, because they used to do nails and hair so well, respectively. Mingnama plans for Labo Sisi. Bangi tagatanga pumagubo. So basically, they shot themselves in the foot. Then again, look at me today in poor, so I never would have succeeded anyway, it appears. But I definitely had good plans for them. Mingbatanda, I was, like I said, at the wedding of the one, Uchadile, a big fat giant African wedding in downtown Joburg. Uncomfortable, I was there because I was supporting my girl. She was getting married. Still to this day, that level is again how much sang bitrea. Langudwa keng how much sang bitrea. Mara hobona ukanzo lungaka from abantu abamnyama has given me so much PTSD that angwazi guys ngiyantshela namhlanje akehoni huyibona ke le mo maratong le monna motho montsho, only because banna ba batho bantsho have shown me the bullet, they've shown me the karate kick, they've shown me kung fu, they have shown me ukuthi yazini bangakwazi ungikhahlela bangangimbonisa mina ipornography. Ngingabukeli any such thing mina in my own capacity. I don't click on rubbish on Netflix, and I don't definitely go out of my way to be out here typing XXX site on my browser. And yet, despite my own determinations for purity, ngihlala ngilandelwa emva ngodlwengulo kibana, sometimes even le basadi babatho abantsho. I suppose it must be the reason why Mudimu has seen it fit because only a vaginal disorder that comes about as a result of trauma in women called vaginistus. Vaginistus, where a woman clamps up and cannot have sex because of past trauma, like if she's been raped or if she's just got basic issues in Jefela with sex, it can make her have a severity of pain. And if a man just so much as gets close to her to a point where she can't have sex. I dreamt about that, not dreamt, sorry, but I once read a story of this one woman that had only ever been with her husband and her rapist. She was a Christian woman and she suffered from vaginistus. She had this for a challenge because of the rape that she endured when she was just 5 or 6 years old. And ever since then, even though throughout her upbringing she wasn't necessarily pure, she would only come to Christ later on. Mara to basically have sex when she was now of age with boyfriends because of the fact that una rapilwe as a child. Her husband, however, when she met him, he was a Christian man, and the two of them were of course celibate. So gwamwa until marriage night. But azange wakhona even then. The woman had to be weaned off. She had to, in Christ, learn to trust. And it took 3 years. That's why I need a Christian man. That's why Christian men are such gems, Lankudra. It took 3 years for this woman to finally lay with her husband. Kabang. Imagine waiting for 3 years after your wedding night as a husband, after your wedding day as indoda, to finally be with Umfazwakon. The level of patience, the whole time he was faithful. They ultimately lived to tell the testimony of having children and everything. She was recovered. God over time putile through spiritual therapy. It was not, she was not demon possessed. You can't be as a Christian. She wasn't demonized, she was traumatized. And it took years of building her faith, and her husband just talking through it and going through it, whatever, therapy even. They even went to a therapist. And then finally, after 3 years, only then was she able to lay with her husband. And now today, banabantwan and everything. So what I'm trying to explain to you is that trauma and a severity of it where black men are concerned, and it is only black men that I feel this way towards. It's so bad that it's not even mixed. Like I could be nekalat, I could be no mundia, and I say kalanti because kalat is half black, half white. I get it. For me, it's just the thoroughbred black. So you guys have so destroyed women in this kind. Like I said, I'm sorry for those of y'all who are catching strays. Mara Nina, that aren't like this. Angazi, why you have not been sufficient voices of reason and prayer warriors and godly enough. Ugyo stop us successfully, because spiritual wickedness in high places is conquered by nothing but the blood of Jesus. Not by just talking and doing a life coaching. Hai bane lika iketsa masole a manete for mudim. Banna ba tserianeng ba rwetseng. Lama tota twele, lama tota asebenzisa usatani for everything. They would not get what they want. They only get what they want because you are not consecrated to God. It's not enough to be the guy that would never rape. It's not enough to be the guy that would never hit a woman, and the guy that would never cheat. It's not enough. You have to be godly in order to conquer the spirit of misogyny over the country that's taking over abafazi. Because look at Karabo ngamhlanje akaziboni, she can't see herself nendoda umuntu omnyama, even though it's not all of y'all ebanjena. Literally, I have blanket painted all of y'all because of a handful of these devil worshippers that you have allowed to dance around on my head. So the only way then it appears that I'm going to be able to lay nendoda is if Lomuntu is not a black man, because I'm tembi that you're not going to one day change on me. I'm tembi that you're not going to one day wreak so much havoc in my life that I'm going to find out 5 years into a marriage Ugutin has been a ritualist all this time. Because proper, they marry women and only after 4 years you find out Uguti yo lomuntu twela umamlambo, yo lomuntu twela itugoloshi, yo lomuntu. Like, it's bad. It's so bad. It is so crazy bad. And so hard to detect as well, that people are thoroughly going out of, not going out of their way, sorry, but people are thoroughly only finding out. Segulate ukuthi mina ngitshadeni. They are married to Moses Sithole, basically amadoda that have got private lives as serial killers. Kodwa kamokin dad and dad of 3 and husband and a respected boss. But the things that he does will shock you le South Africa yonke into oblivion. So cousin Ina is just another mamlambo carrying freak. Efunu foster bu chief on his head by Hlongwane cousin yakon. Lo muntu lona personality yakhe seyichenjile manje. He's a different man. He is nothing like what he used to be, to a point where incest is now the necessary evil to commit in a dream. I don't imagine that it would ever happen in waking life, but it is something of that nature. Ke lorilo nna ke grobwa ke thathwa ke hevwa ke cousin yaka, and I ke soka ke ba le toroso before. I've dreamt it all, including women trying to have sex with me. I've even been raped by one in a dream. Mara I ke soka ke go bala le family member. Hona le ba two, however, ba di cherry, like I said, that tried to have sex with me. Mara they didn't prosper. In this dream, because of the rank of this rubbish of my cousin, and I was consenting. I had allowed myself yolanai. And I was like, God, mina, how am I supposed to recover from Tweki Boning Motoro? It's bad enough nama strangers in my dream. second. Sorry, I saw someone walking into my little shack over there. I thought they were trying to like angtembi abantu bagiti. I don't temba, especially my sister. She's full of sabotage, so I thought she would take my camera, my Mac. Anyway, whatever. Look, let me just sit down here in front of the street lamp to finish this discussion because I can't have much lighting left. Yeah, this cousin in that did this thing, guys. Look, I don't imagine that the realization of this horrific witchcraft spell would be me actually fornicating with my cousin, but the suggestion is that I would eventually embrace him, take him in my stride. In my dream, not only did I sleep with him, but I later got worried like no man's business, asking my mom to take me to a clinic to do a rape kit and also to take my ARVs because I wasn't sure if Hlongwane maybe had a disease and gave me HIV. Ke ha ke tsogile mme wa ka a sa batle ho nkapa ko tleliniking a sa batle go nkisa ko tleliniking hore ke lo etsa rape kit le ke lo nka hape le di ARVs to prevent ngolaza. My dream ended with me essentially just being very panicked that I might be HIV positive, and with me ultimately getting to a point where I acknowledged in my dream that I had just been raped, even though I appeared to consent. It's like roofies. I don't know how many times I can say this time and time again that witchcraft is like roofies. It's like a spiritual roofies. It's like this date rape drug that you are given. It is administered into your body, and then somebody has your body all night long, and when you wake up in the morning you can tell that you have had sex but you can't remember anything. Injalo, that's how it works. A lot of women wake up and they're like, but why did I sleep with Temba? Why did I sleep with Biggie? Why did I sleep with Tembiso? And they cannot for the life of them account in any level of believability in this time-space continuum. What happened? Kotwa, they know that they had sex. They dizzy women and then they sleep with them. And then in the morning, Lomuntlona can only do a rape kit and take my ARVs to try and prevent HIV if this person was HIV positive. That's what was going on in my dream. I realized only after the act that I had done Uguti, I had been violated. And then I made a decision to ask my mom to take me to the nearest clinic, even if it's public. Uguti bayonyenza a rape kit and give me ARVs to block HIV. And my mom was apprehensive, not apprehensive, nankomela. She was dragging her feet. In my dream, ke batla lonka le taxi ho ya ko Helen Joseph. Ho lonka di ARV, lolo etsa rape kit. Ha ke so kana ke go bala le motho ko heso ko torong until Maobane. That's how below the belt people in the occult get. So with this amount of trauma, bantu basemzansi ke kopa le understanding nna ha ke ra ke batle monna motho montsho azanka ekhetha mengisfunela uboy wase Soweto mina. I wanted a man with whom I could speak my languages. Mengfuna a black man with all their swagger. Kodwa after yonke le nyongo that I have endured at the mercy of amadoda abantu abamnyama, angwazi mina ngiziboni ngimchadile one of them. But I am gonna get married and I am going to have children. And I told you, la kwa America, not because ke kgethile monna le goa mara because modimo o kgethile monna le goa for nna because o bone hore nna ka monna motho montsho ke tlo ba le virginistus. I'm gonna have a trauma, a PTSD that's gonna make it hard for me to trust my husband because bayachinja labantu after 5 years of dating umuntu uzokushintshela akhiphe imbambo zakhe uzibuza ukuthi kaze when did you ever become usibusiso when izolo mo uSthembiso? Yesterday you were someone else, but today you are Sthembiso. Yeah, yesterday you were Sthembiso, but today you're Spusiso. Chinchwa. And a change of character yabo abenandaba nabafazi mabakhala over it. They don't care. Mabafazi bazwe so much buhlungu that they can't deal. Abanandaba le buhlungu basadi, guys. Abanandaba. our pain is of no essence, and I mean, it's not that this is not a race issue. It's in the concentrated witchcraft in the black community, so it has become a race issue. Angiko racist mina, neither do am I an Uncle Tom ngafuna abantu bakhe, but I have been disappointed by the black community, like in the worst way. Ever Kellogg's cornflakes breakfast. It's become so easy for you. Ukuyokata nje kalula. Nna ke kgathetse ke go nna ke ntse ke kopana le pornography ke tswile mo nthong tsa lefatshe gale. Ke tswile mo nthong tsa lefatshe gale, guys. And nna ha ke tle ke mo nthong tse snacks mo TV, mo YouTube, mo computing le ka sempone nna ke surfa through rubbish. So for nana to be subjugated to the tyranny of ukubona inyonge ngaga, ngingayi peruse mina self, ngingayi search mina self. Aye guys, it's unfair. It's unfair lankutlo. It's unfair. Ke tswile mo sataneng gale. Banna helo tsweng monna ha e bane le ke tlo go bala le cousin mo torong ke fedile ke here ke enough. I've been calloused, ha ke sa tshaba ditlhare tsa lona, mara ke fra ke irritated. I am sufficiently annoyed to basically just put it out there right now gore batho ba bantsho ntho e tlotlang e tlo le trapang e tlo le tlapang like deserve lankutlo like deserve banna ke go latlhegelwa ke your most beautiful women. And basadi le deserve ke go latlhegelwa ke botle ba lona le virtue, because halena protection. You don't have a sense of this is a woman. A woman should not be going through this. Like why under heaven you don't even feel that way is for the life of me. I don't even understand it. I can understand why less feel handle sufficiently as you ought. Hore motho wa mosadi should not be going through this. You are no longer thinking straight. Le high on something, and I get the getting into a ling high koyona. Mara bottom line is this: bohai batengi, jaga halisa snap out of it, nahe go snap out of you. La tlhaloganya, I'm gonna snap out of you. Eventually, get over tabara ke khone bua Setswana as frequently as I want, or Sezulu or Sesotho. I am going to get over it, because nkampane culture ya ka ganyane cause ke nyetse le goa, then to have to just take in my stride uthando lo ba black at the expense of my soul. Nka se khone le tletse ka satanic too much lankutla. You are too evil. And nna he jwanong ke feditse ka je go ka be ka bua le letsatsi la tikela ti ke feditse ka lona batho ba bantsho ke sa batla kankane leng ravazitse la bela tlisa incest go jarateng is a generational curse, or maybe ke yona mara iseng mo cousining in o change le personality ka fela a sa le motho ana le yena. And jwanong batho ba expect gore nna ke tlo ba le di relations ke lo etsa khosi out of motho nje fela wa Satan ke maswabi. I hope you've been edified. In the name of Christ, I'm signing out. You're done for black people. Nna ko ba right. As for you, it's over. Peace.